Okay. Hi, my name is Adrienne, and welcome to Adrienne Aligned. As you can guess, or maybe guess, this is going to be a series or just a come with me, through my journey of alignment. I started to, not started to, Okay, I'm going to break this down to you guys. I'm going to kind of walk you guys through who I used to be, who I am now, and eventually we'll get to who I'm going to be. But I don't want to focus on the future. I just kind of want to hone in on healing myself and truly discovering who I've ever been, because I've always had a false sense of identity. And so I want to work out why that is, what that was, and what I'm going to be doing differently, or what I am doing differently during this time. So, yeah. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for caring enough to be here. This is called Adrienne Aligned because I am aligning, and I'm recording so that you can do it too, because you can. So, yeah. Let's get started. Today, like I said, I'm going to walk you through who I was, and so we're going to start there. When I was very young, I was separated from my mother and with the rest of my siblings, and we lived in foster care for a little bit. I can't remember the timing, to be honest. And then we moved in with my father, and that was supposed to be that. But him being a man with two daughters, it takes a level of grit and owning it, to be honest, to be able to be a father to two women when you're a single man. So I know that I have a lot of, I want to say daddy issues, to be honest, because he was not able to be there for us, and he always favorited my sister, which I did confront him for when I got back from boot camp. I had a fit and told him, like, I'm not a fit. I mean, whatever. You guys might hear my cats eating in the background, whatever. But I told him that I was done with the way I've always been treated and neglected. And I've seen the way he showed up for my sister. I've seen how he gets the suit on to be by her for homecoming. And I know I was never homecoming material, but, like, come on. And, yeah, so being with him, there were, like, I feel like it definitely developed some daddy issues in me. I have a problem with centering or centralizing men in my life. I do a lot of things and have always done a lot of things for men, for some guy around me to like me more. And I'm learning to break that. I'm learning to no longer be that person. So, yeah, I kind of have to break that down. There's obviously a lot that goes into that. Confirmation burp. That's how the tarot readers are on my page. I've also had to realize that tarot readers, they're telling me what I need to hear, but just because they're telling me what I need to hear does not mean that I'm acting on how I need or what I need to do based off of what I'm hearing, whatever. So I've had to learn that like yesterday, really. Anyway, back to who I was. I had no friends. I'm also having to realize, or I've come to the realization, I've said it so many times, but I've had to come to the realization that I grew up with no friends. I had one friend when I first moved in with my father, and then we split because she had different people she was interested in than I was, and so I started to hang with the opposite group of her, which they were not kind to me. I didn't realize also I was always so naive, because I was told I remember there was a time I remember there was a time, and this is not from my friend group. So a little sidebar. I remember there was this time when we were all on the bus. Again, single father raising two daughters, one with like 4B, 4C hair and one with my hair like 3A, 3 or 3B, 3C. 3A through 3C. It's a 3. I usually say 3B, but the ends of my curls are very tight and then they get very loose to the root, whatever. He did not know how to take care of my hair. He didn't know how to take care of either one of our hair. So he is a black man. So, and my sister has more recognizably black hair, being the coily, kinky hair, So his side of the family or his people willingly took her under their wing to make sure she got it regularly braided or blown out, or is blowout or blowouts when they straighten it too, I guess just getting it straight, not straight, but they just blow it out to be that like kind of poofy straight. It looks really cute, whatever. So she was regularly getting her hair done and everything, and I had no idea what to do with my hair. So I remember that I would wake up before school and I would brush my hair, I think like 10 times. I think that was the number. I can't remember, but there was a set number. I wouldn't take it out of its ponytail, or if I did, I would hold it right at the base of the ponytail, and I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that would be it for my hair. Because I didn't know what else to do. And I remember there was a time that we were on the bus, and right before my stop, I think. No, not right before my stop. Right before this person's stop. We're about to be on spring break, and this guy says, "Hey guys, you know what idea I have? Basically, we should all do something different with our hair." He only meant me, obviously. But I know it's the same vibe as like, "Hey y'all, let's all put on deodorant." Because you don't want to just say like, "Hey, you stink." But it did hurt my feelings, duh. And so I took that spring break. I combed out my hair completely, pulled out all the knots, like ripped out all my hair for real, and started straightening it. And so I started straightening it every single day. Had my grandma straightening it because she would come over and stay the night with us. And then I would have my dad even straightened it a couple of times. And yeah, then I had to start straightening it on my own. But that started me straightening my hair that's all the way through middle school. That was probably when I hit 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. 5th grade is end of elementary school. So yeah, it's 5th or 6th, all the way up until my like maybe 9th or 10th grade. I know I was in high school when I think I had gone to like a pool party type thing, and my friend's mom came and picked me up, and they both were like, "Wow, your hair's so pretty curly." And I had never once thought that. I went to school one time with my hair curly, and the group of friends I hung out with were white, and one of them said to me, "What happened to your hair?" Mind you, I kept it straight normally, and the response was, "What happened to your hair?" Not, "Wow, your hair's curly. Wow, it looks da-da-da." Nothing like that. Cool. So I have a lot of like, not trauma, but I have a lot of history with my hair, which is why I created routine, or part of the reason I created routine, because I've come closer and closer to healing my hair, healing my crown, and I'm also in the process of connecting to my roots. So a lot of routine is to be able to work on myself and my son's hair, because I don't know how to do my own hair. How am I going to know how to do his? And I figured, why not create a platform that all of us could use? So routine, YOURROTINE. I'll put it on the screen somewhere, maybe here. I don't know. I don't even know what this looks like, so we'll see. But yeah. So taking it back, I'm sorry. This is what I do. I lose, like, I go off on tangents a lot. So if that's not your style, then sorry. I also don't usually talk this slow, but I'm trying to learn how to speak slower. How to really focus when I'm talking rather than just spewing words. This is also a great thing for me because I don't get to talk to anyone ever. I don't have any current friends for real. I don't like, or not even for real. I don't have friends. I don't have family that I can just talk to. So me just being able to rant at a camera is going to be whatever my mouth does. So I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Thank you guys for sticking around for it. Anyway, yeah, so I didn't know how to do anything with my hair. And the friends I had were, as I've already said, it was a white group of friends. I met one of my friends. I met one of the friends. Me and her were friends first. We learned sign language. We was talking to each other in class through sign language, cheating on tests and with sign language, you know. And then this other girl came in, I think the following year, or maybe she was just in one of our classes. I don't remember. But then obviously it made more sense for them. They were both more like upper middle class, living in the nicest neighborhood in our city. So while I was living in basically Section 8, duh, it made sense, you know, for them to be closer. Their parents made more sense. Whatever. It made more sense. So then they started to openly make plans in front of me. And they also would, and I know middle school's a rough time, but there was this one kid who, I mean, yeah, I thought he was cute. At the time, I wouldn't even, to be honest, I mean, yeah, he could have been cute universally, you feel me? Because he was like one of the guys in our grade that people thought was attractive if you were white, you know? But I think I just liked it because he was in like the group I was trying to fit into. But point is, they would have me doing like embarrassing stuff, you know, and to like try to get his attention and stuff, or like so that I could make them laugh or whatever. And it was so humiliating. Looking back on it, it was so humiliating, and I can't believe that I went through it like daily, you know. I don't hold any contempt for them, that we were in middle school. So yeah, and then so I was in that group. I started to like separate from them a little bit, not too bad, but started to separate a little bit. Then in 8th grade, I met my best friend of 5 to 7 years. Like I knew her until recently, 7 years. But I met her 8th grade marching band, met her, and we clicked. I mean, we clicked. She was friends with my sister, but then me and her clicked, and her mom, this is my perception, okay? I don't want to say that this is exactly who this woman is, but this is my perception looking back on it. She really needed to have children, especially of color, in her life that she could like raise as her own, so that so that she felt like she was kind of like a hero complex, almost like I can fix them, I can save them. And I'm not going to deny, she helped so much in my life. She was a rock in my life. She also said the N-word. She she also made comments on my skin getting too dark whenever I went to Florida. So it's like, that's not somebody you really need in your corner. So I had to recognize that. More stuff happened. Whatever. We stopped being friends. So keep in mind, I've been practically isolated all of this time, because even though I had that group of friends in middle school, not group, it was literally the 2 girls, and even though I had them, we didn't hang out after school. We I really just kind of was the third wheel sticking on to them, you know? And so it's not like I had friends, whatever. Then I did become best friends with that girl in 8th grade. She was a freshman, a year above me, but again, we met in boot camp. And I don't know, it was really great. It was great. It was fun. Well, I'm not even gonna say that, because to be honest, like 8th grade and freshman year were probably cool. Once I got to sophomore year, that's when COVID hit. I joined JRTC, so I stopped really being in marching band midway through my sophomore year or something. You guys are going to be able to hear my cat in the litter box. I'm sorry. I stopped going to marching band so that I could really focus on JRTC, just because I kind of had like this father figure in there. he like one of the drill instructors. He was like a father figure to me, or he acted as such, or at least I clung to him as such. And he clearly favorited me. And so I stopped doing marching band, which was fine, honestly. I didn't have any friends in band, but I did have some people in JOTC that I could talk to whenever I was in class or between classes when I would go in there and stuff. So that was cool, whatever. And honestly, when I was in JRTC, I did have like a couple of people that I hung out with after school, like two or three people. Yeah, so that was nice. To be honest, that was nice, but I still like it wasn't like constant, it wasn't a consistent thing. It was like after the Friday night games because I was in color guard, so I went out there. I was in color guard for JRTC, so I was out there with these people. So us as the 5 members of color guard, I think only 4 of us, we got really close. So we would hang out whenever, if we could, whatever. And then I got a boyfriend in when I was 16, so sophomore year after COVID hit. I met him and I wanted to be with him, I guess. And very early on, I found out that he was talking to another girl. Not only was he talking to another girl, he was actually dating this other girl a month before I had started talking to him. I had no idea. And by the time I knew that they were actually a thing, and I was so like naive because I said like, who's blank with a red heart? And he said to me like, oh, that's the name it came with automatically because it was like on Snapchat. And he was like, that's just her name. Like, that's her username. And I'm like, okay, cool. But obviously not true. He was cheating with her. He was actually going over there fucking her. I saw a video of him giving her head. Like come on. And this is the first like real relationship I'd ever been in. He also would I moved down to Florida. I finished school early, moved down to Florida for a little bit with my sister who was already living down there, and brought him with me, and found out that he literally went to her house and cheated the night before, and then because he was supposed to be at my house by I think noon on the dot or something, and didn't get there until like 2 or 3 because he was not where he was supposed to be. And then he like gaslit me about it, and then when I found out, cool, whatever, I don't know, whatever. So that relationship really bore into me kind of like, and all of it really kind of made me feel like I don't deserve better, obviously, or I mean, obviously it felt very obvious at that point. If this is what I'm getting, I don't deserve more. But I never truly like at the front of my mind, I never let go of like, I deserve better. But I know that it was dug into me that like, your dad is a man who didn't really care to like love you. This relationship didn't care to love you. Any guys around you, there's never been a guy that came up to me for outside of elementary school. There had never been a guy who came up to me and said that he had a crush on me, he liked me a little bit. Nothing. Because I was a weird kid. And I wasn't like, and I'm not saying anime kids are weird or people that watch anime are weird, but when I say like anime kid weird, you know what I'm talking about. Excuse me. I wasn't like a staying to myself, awkward, like saying, I don't know, I was pretty normal. And then, excuse me, Tom, stop. And then, yeah, got out of that relationship. I went to boot camp. Actually, matter of fact, I went to boot camp for the Marines with him, with the guy who was cheating on me, because it was his dream to go to the Marines. So I was very, cool, yes, do it, but I had nothing going for me anymore. Or I never really did, but I felt like I really had nobody because he drove away the only friends I did have because I was stuck on him when he was doing me so wrong. And not many people want to be around somebody who's going through something with a partner and okay, anyway, I'm not 100% sure. I went to boot camp with him because I had nobody else. I had no reason to be there. My dad had just had a stroke, And I was the main one to visit him in the hospital. I didn't even drive, but I would make sure that I went to the hospital to go see him and have a good time. And neither of I think one of my sisters didn't visit once, and the other one went like twice or something maybe. And I really was there. And when he got out, I was living at his place. Like I moved up from Florida to live back with him so I could help take care of him. And he wouldn't speak to me. He wouldn't say a word to me. If I spoke to him, I remember one time he was downstairs like heating up some food or something, and he left his fork on the counter. So I said like, "Hey, you left your fork," and he just fucking ignored me. He just ignored me, and he did that every time I spoke to him. When he was going up the stairs and I was behind him, "Hey, daddy, hey, I love you, I'm da da da." He just would ignore me, and that hurt so bad because what did I do to deserve that? We were fine when you were in the hospital, so why now are you back and you like hate me or something? And so I really felt like I had no reason to be at home. So I went to boot camp, and of course, me and him shipped off together. Within a month of me walking into the office to sign up, or the recruiting office, I went to boot camp, and it was an experience. I definitely turned into a different person in those 3 months. I was able to grow just a little bit. I was 17. I was 3 days before 18 when I left. So I came back 18, and I had been in when I went to boot camp, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be completely transparent. When I went to boot camp, I failed my IST, which is the initial strength test, where you have to do like a certain amount of like push-ups, crunches, and like a timed run. And I failed that. I was like almost 200 pounds. I was 190 something, never worked out a day in my life. And they sent me off to boot camp. They let me go to boot camp. And because they lied on my things, I'm like so sure. So I went to boot camp and failed my IST. Had no real reason to fail. If you pass 2 out of 3, typically the run, if you don't pass the run, they'll give you a little bit of leniency as long as you pass the other 2. And I felt like the crunches, I'd never been bad at crunches. I'd always been able to crunch, like, come on. But for some reason, I could not do crunches. I think it was meant for me, honestly, to get dropped. So I got dropped to FRP, the Female Rehabilitation Platoon. Got dropped there, where it's just a bunch of injured girls or just other people that failed their IST. And I was there for some time. I don't know why it took so long for another company to come in, like new recruits to come in for me to be able to take my test. But whenever it did, I finally was able to. I remember trying to, every like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you would do PT if you weren't injured. And I was doing my PT, lost a good amount of weight. I went from 190 to 170 while I was there, like 190 something to 170. So that was pretty awesome. But mind you, I'm 6 foot. But I finally got put into, I remember there was a time that I went to medical instead because my foot was so swollen. My ankle was literally the size of like a tennis ball. And so I was like, I need to go to medical. They said, what is it called? I think it was medical. They said I was just a recruit trying to get out of training. Fine, whatever. I went. They said they didn't see anything. Cool. And then I went back. I finally passed my IST, and I was literally like, I didn't want to pass. I wanted to go home. I had no reason to be there. I didn't want to be there. Every time I saw my boyfriend at the time in the like chow hall, I would literally start crying every time. And he would like wave to me and get excited and shit, but like he didn't like me. He was just, he's in boot camp deprived of women. So whenever we got out, he ultimately ended up like cheating again with another girl out, like that he met in boot camp. So LOL, posted himself making out with her on the beach. So that's what I got to see one morning when I woke up. But yeah, so I got dropped to IST or FRP. I got dropped. I don't know if he's moving my camera down there. I got moved to FRP, met all these women. I really made a close friend in there, and I still talk to her now. Me and her girlfriend actually got pregnant, like literally within like 2 weeks of each other. So we got closer because of that. We had a little bit of distance before the pregnancy, but then I let her know I was pregnant, and she was like, "Girl, no way, you're not gonna believe this." Basically, don't come up here. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I went to boot camp, came back after meeting all these wonderful women. Came back. I remember calling my dad and being like, "I'm so sorry I didn't do it. I got injured." That's what I was trying to tell you guys. I'm so sorry. Or thank you for bearing with me, really. I went to, I got injured. I went to my actual platoon. I went to a real platoon, and I got to a point, I became guide, and I got to a point where I literally couldn't like really walk. But if I ran and stopped, my legs would hurt so bad. It felt like they literally were breaking under me. And so like my like knees down. And so I went to medical, I don't know. And they told me that I was faking it, whatever. My legs were literally so swollen that if you like pressed in, they would leave a huge dent. And so I told my senior drill instructor. She got pissed, told him, "Hey, x-ray her, what the fuck?" She actually told the, I think, chief drill instructor, and he came in, or something like that. Somebody high up in the company, or her company, and he came in and was like, "Hey, the fuck? Check her out." And so he got me x-rayed, and I had fractures. So I decided that was really it for me. I didn't want to go back out. So while I was injured, as soon as I healed, I told my drill instructor of FRP, "Hey, I want to go home. I'm going home. Send me home." And finally, I was able to go home. So I came home, and I started dog sitting. I started living with that best friend that I was talking about before. I started living with her and her dad, but he wanted me to pay. I didn't have money besides what I made at boot camp. So her mom was like, "Hey, you can come live with me." And I'm like, "Cool." And so I went and stayed with her. That was a pretty good experience for the time that for that, a time. I got into dog sitting, so I didn't have to work under anybody. I got to go dog sit because she knew a lot of people. She worked fostering dogs, whatever. I grew in that. I remember having a conversation. Me and my sister fell out before I went to boot camp because of a whole situation. My other sister, matter of fact, let's get into that. I have a sister who I grew up with. I grew up with her. I'm talking about we lived under the same roof our entire lives until she went to college. And mind you, we lived in a 2-bedroom townhouse with my dad. So obviously he had one room, we had the other in bunk beds. And then I think when she got into like 9th grade, she moved downstairs to the couch. Our grandma had stopped spending the night there because obviously we're getting more grown. We don't need help getting on the bus, Excuse me. And so she moved downstairs. But she would tell me, if I tried to speak, mind you, we never spoke to each other. Like if we saw each other in school, we might, hi, hug, whatever. And it was me usually going up and like hugging her. And a lot of people knew me as Phaedra's sister. Oh, that's Phaedra's sister, cool, whatever. She's a light to a lot of people. To a lot of people, she is like somebody you want to hang out with. She just like her people were never really in my type of people. So I just and she had this notion that I was going to always take her friends, which is totally valid. A lot of the times when we were in elementary school and like early middle school, her friends did gravitate towards me, especially because she made a lot of male friends. And I was in elementary school and beginning middle school, I was like a cute little girl that dudes like to talk to or flirt with. So obviously I could see that fine. Like me not being part of her friend group. But so we we would be in the bunk bed. I was on the bottom bunk and I would like tap on the thing to try to talk to her, and she would just like, no, I don't want to talk to you, no, not today. And we never talked, and like I said, I like to talk, and I never really have had an outlet to just talk. talk like back and forth. I just don't want to just talk. I want to back and forth, but she hated when I talked, and she told me after she moved downstairs that I just talked too much. And every time since then, I would go sleep in my room and she would sleep downstairs. When she came home, if she would come home late because she would hang out with her people, and if I tried to speak to her, I would like come downstairs like, ooh, Phaedra, guess what? And she would say, what is it this time? I don't have long to talk, so what is it? What do you need? What da da da? Like she was very dismissive towards me. And so now, not only am I living with a father who doesn't want to talk to me or like me, I'm now also and have been living with a sister who doesn't want to talk to me and doesn't like me. So at what point, I don't know. I've always been, and I don't like to try to play the victim because I've been told that I just like to play the victim. So I try not to. I try to really and truly see it from every side. But I know things that I would never do to somebody. I know that I would never completely ignore and neglect somebody living in my home. And I know that because I've let people live in my home who deserve to be neglected. Deserve, but like they had no respect and they were not kind, or they just weren't, they didn't deserve to be in my home. And so she was very mean to me, and I couldn't understand it. I know that I was always so upset when she wouldn't want to talk to me, but it was like to be expected. So why are you upset? And I think that ultimately I need to get to the root and heal that part of my inner child who never got to be herself, who never got to just express and speak freely. Because even in my most recent relationship, who I have my son with, I've consistently been told that the reason we don't just sit down and talk is because all I do is talk about bullshit. I never have anything to talk about that he was interested in. I never like anything like that. I just what I was saying was not worth listening to or talking about, And while he would say that I could talk, he would say sometimes like, you can talk, I'm listening, I just don't have anything to say back to you. Like I'm not going to say anything back. And so he would sit. My cats are playing with their cat tree. He would sit there and he would just be on his phone while I'm talking, and that could be okay. Not really, because people deserve active listening, but he would get on his phone, he would put an AirPod in, and then when I'm talking, if I'm waiting for a response, he would, wait, what? He would, he clearly wasn't really hearing or digesting anything that I'm saying. And a lot of what I say is kind of like little nothings, but like, you claim to love me. You claim that you're supposed to be like a safe space for me. So why, when I say my little nothings, can I not be responded to or heard? You guys know the bird theory that people are talking about all over TikTok, where like you say to your partner like, hey, look at that awesome bird. And if they pay attention or if they really care, like, where is it? What are you talking about? What or, oh, dang, I'm sorry, I must have missed it. If they just kind of ignore you or like, okay, so what, a bird, then maybe they don't really like you, He was like the epitome of that. He was like the exact, like, fuck that bird, That's who he was. And we had some ups and we had some good times in our relationship. I'm not going to act like we didn't, so I'm not sitting here to try to bash him. But I don't want to get into our relationship for the sake of me talking about my inner child not being able to ever express herself. It has continued on my entire life until recently. And even now, I guess really this is my way of expressing myself. This is my way of healing my inner child, is being able to just kind of talk, and hopefully you guys will engage back with me. But just being able to express myself is enough. I know that I still have the problem, even though I can recognize it. I know that I still have the problem because I know that in friendships and relationships I try to build now, relationships of any kind, like just trying to talk to people, I like want to stop myself, or I want to hush, I want to, and I make sure that other people definitely get their turn, but I know that I also like try to make sure that I say my point and just try to, I know I can see that I still have an issue with not being able to fully express myself or to talk because I have a fear of boring people, talking too much, just being annoying, and so I'm working through that, and I know that that's something I need to work through, that I am working through, and I'm glad I got to talk about that and be able to say that more out loud because make sure this is still going. Okay, yeah. Because that's part of this. That's what this is. I just want to get things off my chest so I can work things out. Really, that's what this is. I'm working things out by talking about them. And if you're here to listen, you're here to listen. But this is kind of like a documentation of my healing process or my aligning process. So yeah, I have possible like father wounds. I definitely have mother wounds also. I mean, I didn't grow up with a mother, and whenever she came back into my life, she's always been very me. She also still can't tell the truth about things that transpired. She doesn't care about the sexual abuse that happened under her roof in her home. She can't accept it, and even if she has accepted it, she just simply doesn't care. And so that's made it very difficult to have a relationship with her because even though it could be years and years ago, there's still a wound, so there's that. I don't have a very good relationship with either parent. I do know that it has made me all of my life, not that it has made me necessarily, but rather that I've always been like a pure of heart, and not like I'm a good lady, I'm a good woman. Why? But like genuinely, I don't cheat. I don't like to just lie. I don't want to hurt people. I want to help everyone. And so I know that these things that have happened in my life haven't changed who I am at my core. It's just kind of stifled it a little bit, or made me feel like I'm always doing and never getting. I'm never able to relax. And now I've had a baby, so I can't even take time to myself. And this is honestly like almost a part 2 to healing because before I met my son's father, I was in a phase of like just rocking it, just living my life, doing what I do. I got skinny, I looked good, I was confident. And then I got with him and he was cheating off rip, you feel me? And I found out and we couldn't fix things from there. So things just kept on spiraling out of control and I was pregnant. So, you know how the emotions go for that. But I don't know. I know that I have so many things to work through. I'm going to just keep on going with my life, I guess. Got back from boot camp, lived with her. Some fucked up stuff happened living with my best friend at the time's mom. They didn't want to, I guess, believe or, hear it, whatever. No matter what. I mean, whatever. And I'm not ready to really divulge anything about it, I guess, publicly. So that scarred me or messed me up a little bit more. That was my only friend for real, and me and her got so close when I got back from boot camp. Before boot camp, we struggled. We really struggled. So I don't know, we were very on and off, but when I got back from boot camp, it took about a month or so. But mind you, when I left for boot camp, this best friend told me that she was coming to me to say goodbye because I was leaving the next day. So she said, I'm coming. I'm gonna come say goodbye to you. And I waited. I had her location. I sat on my couch and I waited and I waited and I waited and I checked her location and I waited and I checked her location. And an hour I waited. And she was 40 minutes in the opposite direction. She was at her home about 10 minutes from my house. And then decided, after telling me that she was going to be by my house to say goodbye to me, to go 40 minutes in the opposite direction. That shit hurt. I was leaving for boot camp to be isolated and not see anybody that I've ever known. Not that I have very many people, but come on. You weren't going to see me for 3 months. What? And then I came back and decided to be her friend. And that's how, I wasn't very healed through boot camp. I was just kind of a different person. Tom and Jerry. Because I was able to let her just back into my life like that, knowing that she didn't really show me any respect before I left. Whatever. Not whatever. I'm going to work through that. The friendship's over, so it's not like I necessarily need to like work through it to like with her, but it is something I need to kind of, it wasn't my fault, like it wasn't my fault that she didn't want to say goodbye to me. She made a choice. I can't control you, and that's something you need to know. You can't control anybody else, like you can only control your choices and your actions. And obviously there's ways that you can have control over somebody if you like have something of theirs or blackmail, like there's but like ultimately you control your actions and your words and your thoughts. That's it. So I have to recognize, to be honest, that all the way up until I was, 18, 19, after boot camp. Stop. After boot camp. Excuse me. Then my actions really became my own, or like what I was doing. I don't know. Everything happened so like, not quick, but I've never really been able to just kind of live a life, just to kind of be. It's always been like financial struggles. No. It's always been like financial struggles or just hardships enough that I couldn't just kind of get out there, and relationship problems that I wasn't allowed out there, or that I would even tie myself down just because I didn't want to upset my partner, when that shouldn't be the case. You should be allowed out. You should live two different lives also, so that when you come together, there's so much more to talk about. He's moving my camera. Just so you guys know, if it's a little shaky, it's because my cats are right there and I have the most unstable tripod in the world. Yeah, so yeah. After I left dog sitting, I did make one good friend. I really, really loved her. Things went sour. Very quickly. Not necessarily because of anything either one of us did. I really think it was outside factors. And that's just the way life goes. I was more hurt like losing her because she was such a wonderful person than like not feeling like she had a reason to really not like me, or to not want to be my friend. And then I stopped going to college. I stopped going to school when I was, you know what? Matter of fact, let's take it back to high school again. Sophomore year, 2020, when COVID hit, I stopped going to school. No, that's like my junior year. I stopped going to school. I used every bit of COVID as an excuse. Every time I could, I acted like I had COVID, came in contact with somebody with COVID, had to take a test. Like, I did not go to school because getting out of bed to go to school would have me, like, crying. I didn't want to go. And it wasn't like just like, oh, I hate school. It was literally like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to be here, And I remember all the times that I would like just stay in bed. I would hear my sister go to school and I would just stay in bed if she was home. At that point, she was wherever. But I would just stay in bed. And I would hear my dad come home from work. I would hear him go to the bathroom and stuff, and I would just be silent in my room. I would just sit there silently because it's not like I had anywhere to go. It's not like I had a car. It's not like I had friends to hang out with or to skip with. No, I literally was just staying home in my bed. And I think I did have my first iPhone at this point. Yeah, I think I had my SE. Yeah, I got an SE, the second generation SE, the little one. Um, and so, but I didn't have, I don't know, TikTok wasn't as like good as it is now. There's not as many like stories and stuff, minus the AI that's like taking over. But there's not like story time. There wasn't like story times and all. It was really just people lip syncing and stuff. So it wasn't like you could just sit and scroll for hours like you can now. So it was just me in my house, maybe drawing, painting. I don't know if you guys are gonna. I'm gonna flash you guys. Um, I was really into poetry. I would write poems. And honestly, maybe that's something I should do again to help release some of this stuff, cause like I would write about whatever I was hurting about, you know? I would. I know that, like, I also have, like, okay, enough about who I was. Let me tell you guys about, like, who I am and what I've done. Since, like, June, I decided I was going to stop doing sugar, okay? I Tom, stop. I decided to stop doing sugar and to stop having snacks in the house because I was breastfeeding. So I decided when I was it's late. I decided when I was 6 months postpartum that I was going to stop eating so much sugar and snacks and stuff. I was going to stop eating so much sugar and snacks because I allowed myself to get pretty heavy, to be honest. I was 204 at the end of my pregnancy when I had Amias. Within like a week I was 185 and I looked good, like, you know. And then I sat around breastfeeding. My baby was very Velcro, very stuck on me. He wouldn't allow me to, not I started breastfeeding, obviously I was breastfeeding since he was born, but he wouldn't allow me to do much of anything. He had to, newborns take a nap like every 30 minutes. And so I would just sit on a recliner all day while my boyfriend was at work. And I would just sit in this recliner and I would just let him sleep. And it was like having to sit there and watch him and like be with him and like feeling like I wasn't doing enough for him, even though he was a newborn, like feeling like I wasn't teaching him. And I still have that struggle where I feel like I'm not teaching him anything. I'm not engaging with him enough. I feel like I'm not like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not enough for him, I guess. But I don't know what that is. It's 73 degrees in here. That's fine. My son needs it. Yeah, so I mean, I was breastfeeding. I allowed myself to get very heavy because I decided that I no longer wanted to have a poor relationship with food. I wanted to fix it. And I did complain about my body a lot, not like, like looking at myself and calling myself fat and everything. Because again, I was 207 pounds, 6 foot. I'd never looked like that before. I had 3 back rolls on either side. Like my thighs were way bigger than they'd ever been. So much cellulite. Like it's just, that's not how I wanted to look. And that's not how I enjoyed looking, especially considering before I got pregnant, I was 145, 150, And so for me that was my first time really being skinny. And so now to get pregnant like that and then be 200 pounds, like I struggled. And I've always had like body image issues, body dysmorphia, eating disorders, the whole nine, And so maybe one day I'll read you guys the poem I wrote about that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I decided that was it. And I think that was the first shift in my life, that was like me taking my life, like taking back my life, because once I started to lose the weight and like I'm taking regular pictures of my body now, and now I'm 180, and seeing myself, like, I'm constantly gassing myself, like, girl, you look good. I look at my old pictures because I mean, I'm not gonna forget. Jerry, stop. I'm not gonna forget where I came from. I came from 207 pounds, and body dysmorphia gets you because you can't see the loss of weight. You know, like, you can't see. I'm not sure if body dysmorphia goes like both ways, where like you're bigger than you are and you think you're like skinny. I don't know. But mine was obviously, I was getting small and saw myself as so big. I literally, even when I was 150, I would ask the one friend I had if I looked bloated every time he saw me. Do I look bloated right now? Do I look bloated? I haven't eaten all day, but do I look bloated? My favorite time is when I haven't eaten. I would go all day without eating just so I could be skinny. What if I needed to go out of the house and I wanted, like, I'm going to have my midriff showing, and I mean, people are going to see me, you know? Like, I can't be bloated. That's the way I viewed it, was like, I needed to look good for the people around me. Now, I mean, whatever, you know, like, I'm living it up. But anyway, I decided to stop doing snacks and stuff in the house when my son was about 6 months, when I was 6 months postpartum, and I started to work out. I started to go to the gym, and then we went on a trip, and when I came back, I had lost my motivation, but I did start going again, and the pounds, I mean, they started coming off. I look good. I look good. And I remember I would be so excited every time I would check the scale. That is my biggest issue that I have now to this day, is that, like, first thing I do in the morning is wake up and step on the scale. The scale is really your biggest enemy if you don't know how to keep it at a distance, for real. I don't let it put me down. I just kind of, like, need to see that number. I don't know. Something, again, like I said, I'm working through. But my weight doesn't hold as much weight anymore. So yeah, I stopped eating snacks and stuff. I decided I'm going to start going to the gym. And so I did, and I was consistent with it. At first, my boyfriend was working, so it would only be after he came home from work. And then whenever he left his job, I was going every day in the morning. I was going when I woke up around 9, I would do some cleaning and then take my pre-workout so that I could leave or be at the gym at 10 and come back around 11:30. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely my first big step towards change, towards, like, alignment, because I had to heal some part of me, and I had to heal that part of me, to be honest, because nobody deserves to look at their plate and, like, be disgusted with themselves, you know? And I still have, like, some low-key issues. I'm not gonna lie. I do have some issues still. My son's father asked me the other day if I had eaten already, and I had gone to get something, because I cook every single meal, you know, but I was not in the mood to cook, and I was really craving this Jamaican restaurant or Caribbean restaurant down the street. It's the only thing that I, like, eat out now. And so I was gonna go, and I'm thinking the whole time, like, I hope he doesn't call me. I hope he doesn't want to talk. And when he called me while I was there, I'm like, fuck, like, what if he hears, like, the background noise, you know? Like, what if he hears the people? And so he asked me where I'm at, and I have to tell him, you know. He didn't. And so I'm thinking, cool, you know, power of the AirPod, you know. And so I make it home, and as soon as I get home, I'm, like, unpacking my plate to sit down. He's supposed to be taking our son and having him, you know, and he's out with him, but he's talking about he's gonna just come back and like hang for a little bit. And I'm like, and he's like, did you get something to eat, or have you eaten yet? And I, like, started crying, you know. I started crying immediately, because and I said to him, I said I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to judge me right now. I just want to eat. And he was like, Mom, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You can eat whatever you want, you know? And that's something he's always told me, eat whatever you want, but he's also not made comments, but just kind of, like, watching me eat and smiling and stuff, like, wow, she's eating. I love it. But for me, it's like fuck, he's watching everything I eat. What if, like, when I complain about my body tomorrow, he's gonna remember, even if he doesn't say it, he's gonna remember the fucking whole plate and a half that I took down last night. And I wouldn't even eat all day. I would, like I said, I would not eat breakfast or lunch and then eat a big plate for dinner and, like, still think that he's gonna have some type of opinion about what I'm eating. I don't know. And so yeah, it's still hard. It's still hard. To this second, it's still hard. But I'm working through it, and I know I can acknowledge it. I can see it. I can look through it. And that's the point of this. That's the point of this. Adrienne Online, that's the point of this. Me sitting down and recording this, it's so that I can understand and I can see the problems. I can see the hurts. Because there is no reason that you should care if somebody cares where you're eating, what you're eating, or when you're eating. There's no reason that you should care about that. Because, I mean, eat. Eat. So what? Like, what? And I'm getting better. I kept myself from sweets for a long time. Now I can have some sweets in my house. When me and my boyfriend, my son's father, broke up, my weight it just kept dropping. It wasn't that I was being unhealthy. I was eating maybe even more than I was when he was here, but, like, maybe I was just more active because, I don't know. Maybe I was just more active, but, like, the weight started dropping. I went from 190 something down to 192, 190. Oh, I'm 189. Whoa, 186, 180, like 184, 182. I was just dropping weight. Now I'm in that 180 to 182 pretty consistently, and it's it's been an experience. It's been an experience. I've made a lot of this talk about my, like, food, and I think that that's kind of where I want to end it, is on, like, my healing with eating and stuff. I'm going to tell you guys what I've been doing, and then I'm going to let that kind of just simmer, sit in, whatever, settle, I don't know. I ultimately do still have problems with food. I've messed up my body's, like, ability to release leptin and, like, gremlin or something, a ghrelin, I don't know what it's called, but they're, like, your hunger chemical and your fullness chemicals. But because I've starved myself for days at a time and then got to where I was only just eating once, my body doesn't trigger hunger anymore, for real, like, I don't really get triggered with hunger unless I really just don't eat all day and it's nighttime, and even then maybe I get hungry, or maybe first thing in the morning I'm, like, starving, but if I distract myself I'm not. You hear that? If I distract myself I'm not. I need to eat. You need to eat. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. They say that, and I still don't do breakfast. I know a lot of people just don't do breakfast, but if you can, like, do it. That's something I need to work on. I need to just start eating. I need to eat healthier and lighter so that I don't feel so bad about eating, because ultimately, like, I'm still feeling some type of way when I eat. I got a better relationship with food. I can now make whatever food I want, have sweets in the house, eat it, but, like, sometimes there are still times when I have my like, self-loathing moments. Not as bad as they used to be. I used to be like I would eat something. I would, like, say I made myself a bowl and I made it a little lighter so that I wouldn't, like, a food, whatever I made for dinner for us, but I made it a little lighter. When I would go to try to, like, get me seconds or something, I would think to myself, like, of course you fucking want it, fat ass. Like, obviously you want to fucking eat more. That couldn't be enough for you. You eat so fucking fast. Wait for the food to settle. Damn, like, I would be so hateful to myself. But not anymore. Not anymore. I eat what I eat. And I don't really give it a second thought, to be honest. If I want it, I deserve it. I deserve it. I mean, And that's part of my inner child being able to heal for real, because I've had eating disorders for my entire life. My sister was much skinnier than me, and she still is much skinnier than me, and it was brought to my attention a lot. Like, oh, you're so big, and your sister's so small. Like, family, friends saying oh, I thought she was older because she's much bigger. I'm taller too, but I don't know. Point is that I grew up in environments where people made sure I knew that my weight was not acceptable enough. It was not good enough. And so that stuck with me, developed my eating disorder and body image issues, and stopped loving myself. I don't even know if I ever really did love myself, to be honest. And yeah, so now I eat what I want. And when I say I let myself get back up to 207 pounds because I wanted to build a healthier relationship with food. I wanted to be able to comfortably, and my body, I wanted to be able to lay there and be on my side with my stomach hanging and thinking not thinking fuck, what if my boyfriend comes and lays down and sees my stomach? What if he da-da-da? Or when I'm sitting in the car, my stomach does that big bulge instead of being flat in or rolling inwards. I want to be able to look at it and just kind of not sit there and want to cover my stomach. That's what, I don't deserve that. So I allowed myself to get to 207 pounds so that I could make the decision to lose the weight. And so I did. And I'm very grateful to have lost the weight. I'm very grateful to have been able to be in that mindset and to be where I was. I'm very grateful to my ex-boyfriend for giving me the space to be able to go to the gym. I truly appreciate you. Yeah, every day I'm getting better. And I thank you guys for listening. I don't know. These are going to be really random. Tomorrow or Wednesday, or not Wednesday, Friday, it could be anything else. I don't know. Whatever, I'm just going to talk, and whatever happens. So I thank you guys for coming in. There's no real point to these besides literally just me healing, me aligning, me breaking through all of the who I was and who I am, so that eventually I can be who I know is inside of me. Maybe next time I'll talk about my boobs being uneven and how I've had to get past that. Yeah, I really want a bowl of ice cream, so I'm gonna eat that before it gets too late. I think it's 9:30, so I'm gonna have a bowl of ice cream and maybe edit this video. Maybe I'll edit it tomorrow. I really thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for sitting. If you listened through this whole thing, thank you. I hope that seeing me be as vulnerable as I am with you guys will encourage you to be vulnerable with yourself at the very least. It doesn't have to be with somebody else, but just that you can look yourself in the mirror and decide what you want to do differently, or that it's time for you to heal your inner child. I've never really been able to understand the inner child wounds or what my inner child may need, but even just now I've realized some things about my inner child. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you, and I hope that this means something to you, and if it doesn't, it means the world to me. Much appreciated.